everyone, it's Judith, just checking in before our episode starts to remind you that this episode will include mentions of the experience of living with mental health issues, depression and bipolar, and other experiences that may be confronting to you. While the overall episode is positive and strengths-based in its approach to mental health, so there's no trauma dumps here, I also know that sometimes this is not what you need to hear about right now. If that is the case, perhaps choose another one of our episodes or catch up with another podcast that you love. And if you're struggling with your mental health, please do not do so alone. There are lots of great resources out there that you can access, and we have listed some in the show notes. If you're taking nothing else away from today, remember that nearly everyone is challenged with mental health issues at some point in their lives, either in themselves or in the people they care about. So making a call for support is totally normal, at least in our eyes. So take care and we will see you soon. Hi everybody, it's Judith Bowtell, once again here with another episode of Aligned and Thriving. It's great for you to be here. It's great for me that you're here. And I'm very excited about today's episode because it's our first double header, if you can say that. And I have with me two wonderful women. We have Georgia Poletti Moulds and Amanda Robinson. So hi, Georgia and Amanda.
Hi, Judith.
It's so lovely to have you here. So Georgia and Amanda are down in Melbourne, and they are the hosts of a really newish podcast called Going Loco, which is a wonderful program. It's funny, it's lighthearted, but it also gets to some of the truths about living with mental health issues. So I'm going to introduce myself in the way that Georgia and Amanda always do. So, hi, I'm Judith and I have depression.
Yes. And I'm Amanda and I also have depression.
And I'm Georgia and I have bipolar 1 disorder.
Fantastic. So Georgia's one of the co-hosts. She's a trained opera singer and she has 3 boys. It's bulk dicks at her place. Excellent. Last year, she had a midlife crisis and decided to give stand-up comedy a go. Wow. She also entered a competition with the Moth, the long-running international storytelling event and podcast, and she won. Woo! 2 of my favourite things in the world, in her world, are 90s power ballad sing-alongs. Oh, yay. And making her co-host, Amanda Keckle. You can often find her in a paddock, sitting out the front of the tiny house her husband built. She'll have a vino in hand and her wicked Maggie at her feet. Oh, as everyone knows, I'm a complete dog nut. If the wind is blowing the wrong way, the whisk coming off the homemade composting toilet will be nauseating. But they should be soaking up the sunset to the soothing sounds of a 4-stroke motorbikes at full throttle. Her best qualities are my inappropriate effect, banking your comments for later, and having the most labile mood in the room. Okay, what does labile mean?
It means it can go from very high to very low. It's a moving feast, student.
Awesome. Welcome. Your labile mood is very welcome here too. Can I just say, you've got to go to the Going Loco website because the photos are just brilliant. Okay. Particularly Amanda.
They capture it quite well.
Yeah. So Amanda's a writer. She writes fiction because apparently she hates money. She won the 2018 Affirm Press Mentorship for a manuscript that plagues me daily with its unfinishedness. She's a one-eyed Collingwood supporter. Oh, okay. You're still welcome. But I currently have all my tea. My 2 favourite things are my twin sister and my dog, Brian. Oh, what dog lovers. You can often find me reading a book beside my open fireplace due to energy prices, convincing me that $200 worth of firewood per week is more economical. Yeah, kind of can get that. Or taking ridiculously long baths with a book because the fire is in the house. I've lived in that house. I also had depression. Oh, we're talking about that. My best qualities are saying yes to everything, being over-the-top enthusiastic, having more front than mire when I'm feeling unwell, and loving everything you cooked for me because it tastes better than someone else does it. And isn't that one of the truths of life? So welcome, Georgia and Amanda. And I'm just going to really enjoy today, I can see. And let's start with the question, which is, what have you done lately for your work-life balance?
Well, Georgia has dragged me into doing this podcast
Excellent.
so that we have a creative outlet in our lives, which is really important to both of us.
Yeah.
In terms of work-life balance. I think I'd just go crazy if I wasn't working on anything creative. And because I always say yes to everything, Georgia was a bit manic and she said, hey, let's start a podcast. So I said, oh, fantastic idea. All the best ideas. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So that's how it came about. And we've definitely been doing that a lot lately.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Terrific. So having this creative outlet of the podcast, I can relate to that. This has definitely been my happy place since I started it this year. How long did it take you guys to get going with yours from the idea to getting off the ground?
It was a long time. It
About 6 months, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, good.
Every week and recording. We were trying to find our voice. We hadn't quite we were really exploring what the podcast was going to be, and it took us quite a while. Like, we recorded a lot of recordings and then went, no, that's not it.
Yeah. And also getting to know each other's story.
Yeah.
Because we've known each other, but it's different from sitting down and creating something together. You actually like what works, what our strengths were, what we wanted the thing to look like. Yeah, the tone of it and the format of it. And because George was like, just jump on the mic, it'll be fine. And I was like, no, goddamn, no.
Thanks, Amanda. Let's jump on and have a chat. And then just like,
I was like, it shall be structured to within an inch of its life. So now it's like a kind of a mixture between the two.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I like it a lot tighter than George's.
Yeah. Oh, okay. It sounds like what's going on in my head. It took me like 3 or 4 years to get going, so 6 months is nothing. In fact, on the very first interview I did on Aligned and Thriving, I spoke to my very good friend, Marlo, who's known me forever. And I think at the end she's saying something about, she gave this quote about, if not you, who, if not now, when. And she said, that's what I kept wanting to say to you about the podcast that you just kept talking about. Yeah. But when are you actually going to do it? So then, of course, I had to get her on for the first interview.
Yeah, that's Georgia to a T, because I would have avoided it. And Georgia was just even put it out there, just get it out there.
And I think the week that it went out there,
I had a spiral the fucking day.
You're in Bali and like, Amanda, we'd have been sitting there. We're just waiting for, I think, Podbean or something the final thing to click into place. And I was like, all right, green flag, we're ready to go. And
I just dropped my phone and ran away. I just basically ran away from my phone. I went to the beach. George was like, you okay, mate? I'm like, what have we done? Terrible.
Fantastic. This sounds like a huge adventure. Let's dive into talking about it, because what we wanted to explore today was the importance of creative outlets, but even more than that, having a passion project. Having something you're doing because it's something you feel passionate about. So tell me what you feel passionate about at the moment.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I think we're really passionate about the why of Going Loco, which is we've chosen to speak about mental health using humour, because I think mental health can be stigmatizing at times, but to use humour really does open up the conversation. And I guess it makes hard topics accessible and digestible. And what we wanted to do was create a space where people who have experienced mental health issues can really see themselves, relate and see themselves reflected. But listeners that haven't experienced mental health issues can also learn from our experience in what we hope is a fun, relaxed way. And we just wanted to talk about mental health in a way that wasn't so sincere and somber, and just bring the lighthearted element to it, to destigmatize it. Yeah, that's basically it. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm like, what Georgia said. Yeah.
Yeah, great. So this passion to destigmatize mental health and take it out of the realm of the serious. Because it is serious, but
it is. Yeah, absolutely. It is serious, but I think sometimes the way it's talked about is like with a bit of a head tilt, and people want to step away from it, and and not having really authentic conversations, or that fear around having a conversation. If I ask someone if they're okay and they say no, then I'm maybe responsible for them or whatnot.
Yeah.
Or even just being able to say this is going on for me without getting blowback from that. I guess that's how we want this conversations to roll out, because we know it impacts us in our lives about how people are reacting to us. And basically, don't be afraid.
Don't be afraid.
It'll be okay.
Yeah. I remember Natalie Tran talking about way back in the day when she started making YouTube videos. I don't know if you guys know Natalie Tran. Oh, Natalie Tran was the OG YouTube girl. She started doing little skits where she played all the roles, etc., like this. And she had 1 million subscribers before anyone else was on YouTube and quite a breakout star. So everything she did was comedy. And she said she got her comic chops from her parents because they were Vietnamese immigrants. And she said every conversation about immigration is very serious, about the trauma and the grief and the transitioning. And she said what gets lost is how funny it can be. And that's what her parents would come home and go, did you realise that here they do things like this? Oh, they go, that's hilarious. Why would they do that? And they kept finding the funny in what was going on. And so for her, that was the same thing. Let's just find the funny in what's going on. And there is a lot of funny in mental health.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, comedy is a double, it's like touching the void of like that kind of dark comedy. Yeah. That flip side, what is it? Tragedy and comedy are like flip sides of each other. So you touch the void and then bring it back. I think talk about something, it's tense, but then you can break it up with comedy. So we can still say that tense thing. We can still say, hey, this is like an awful experience that I had, but then here's the funny side of it.
Yeah.
So you still get to hear the negative side of it, but we won't make you sit in it for too long.
We'll release you.
Yeah. Or you do a Hannah Gadsby and you dodge.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think also, but in terms of creating humanizing mental health, remembering there's a human being, humour is a great way of connecting people. Maybe across to people, to other people. You don't have the same barriers when you use comedy. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. Like space. And being like, please come and sit in this shit with me. No. Nobody wants to do that.
So how did you two meet? Where did it all begin?
So we actually have our friendship groups are interconnecting. So we knew each other. We did a bit of a trauma bond, I think. We both have experienced some pretty serious grief in our past. So my partner passed away at the time, and Georgia, her mum and her sister passed away. And I was out at the pub not long after, and Georgia just came up to me. She said, why are you outside? And I was like, what do you mean? And she was like, I just went to ground after the death that I experienced, and my grief made me go to ground. And then we just bonded over that. And, and then Georgia joined my book club.
That's right. Yeah.
And so we're talking regularly, and then Georgia got matched.
Let's do a podcast. And she said yes.
So the great meeting of the one who always says yes to the one who always has the great idea.
And I need to be dragged through things sometimes. Yeah. I have a bit of trouble completing things, I think.
Yeah.
But creatively.
You will work and rework and work it, which is an awesome quality. But then, I'm like, put it out there. Yeah. So we kind of balance each other well, where you're like, whenever we were a little bit more like, come on. I'm going out to the well.
Yeah. So how do you keep this energy going? So you've got great energy. Is it just that it's the connection, or is the purpose for the podcast also something that keeps you motivated?
Oh, we definitely rile each other up. Yeah. We really rile each other up a lot.
As soon as Georgia steps in the door, because we meet weekly, even though we go out, fortnightly. As soon as she walks in the door, I'm talking a million miles an hour at her. She's talking a million miles an hour at me. And we care about the topic as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah, obviously. And also it's quite cathartic for me.
Yeah, absolutely.
To be able to talk about it. Yeah. So that's nice. That gets the energy. It begets its own energy, really.
I think there's a comedic energy, isn't it? Where we're on the same level. So we did another interview recently, and I was sitting there wanting to like riff off what you're saying with jokes. And I'm like, hey, Georgia, just let her talk. Let her talk. But I was just on the same wavelength in terms of sense of humour. So,
yeah.
And sometimes
which is rare.
It's rare to find like
someone that that you can rip off. It's actually a real privilege.
Yeah.
I think. Because I actually have a writing group that I'm part of. Someone wanted to introduce someone else into that writing group, and our whole group was like, no, you've got to protect the energy once you've got something great like that. It is actually a gift, and I think people take it for granted, but to be able to find a group of people that you connect with that get you, they get your work, they get your humour.
Absolutely.
Huge.
To protect the idea you're really good at. If I come with a real fleeting kind of germination of an idea, and I think we both give each other, let's on more, come on, and that can be initially confronting when you're like bringing this small you're very, protecting the idea is,
it's a very, it's not
fragile.
Nobody wants to bring a baby to someone and be like, someone tell you it's a shit idea. We never say it's a shit idea.
No,
we just might need a bit of work, or like, what are you talking about? Use more words because I know you're on to something, because good ideas have energy.
Absolutely.
Like this, I was like, I have no idea what you're talking about, but I can feel the energy there, and you just need to use more words, and we'll get there, and we'll be able to make this into a thing.
And that's your real skill set, I think, too, is digging in and asking those questions. And I'm continuously excited about the possibility of what we can create together. I think,
The passion obviously bounces off the walls. Do you have any, I've worked a lot with creative people in my part, and do you have any sort of structure, or, I don't want to say rules, but do you have any sort of thing that contains that energy that brings the idea to life? Do you have a process, or?
It was that balance of being semi-planned but also spontaneous. So I'll often hold back, like I'll have jokes that I'm working in my head, and I'm like, Amanda, I'm not going to tell you until we're on the bike, so I want to capture that energy. But then we've worked out we do need to sit down beforehand and to have these topics and to have subtopics that we do want to hit with that. But it's a real fine balancing line.
If we write too many notes, then we're reading off the notes, and then we don't get the conversational tone that we're looking for. And Georgia and I are often on the same, not always on the same page with stuff, but we can read each other well.
Well, I think that's really important, that ability to balance each other in the moment, and also being willing to give the other person freedom to you trust them to bring what's needed into the space. So do you plan your episode how long in advance? What is your process? How do you actually...
all over the place.
Okay, that's encouraging for all of us podcasters out here.
Sometimes we'll discuss, we will get a topic, and we meet every Thursday. We record probably every second Thursday. And then the in-between one is discussing what topics we might, or doing admin or whatever, or just hanging out. Because sometimes we turn up and we don't want to. I'll get like super avoidant, and I'll be like,
we're 3 hours into this chat, and I don't think we're recording tonight, are we?
And I'm like, thanks for reading the room. No, I'm not ready, because I'm not maybe in the right state, like headspace, or I need to think more about the topic that we have decided on.
I think sometimes consuming, if we're talking about a topic, we might try and consume and read the same book or listen to the same podcast or something. So we've some external input to flow off. I think that helps.
And sometimes that content, for me personally, needs to settle a bit, or I need to listen to a few times to understand where I'm, what my take is. Which is why we do it fortnightly, because George was like, let's do it weekly. And I was like, are you serious?
That's good call. Great call. I often think, imagine if we could get paid for this and we could devote all our time to it, and we have a producer, or, wow, what it could be.
The sound would be great.
Stu would be happy.
Our sound is currently done by George's husband, who does have skills in that.
He does, but he's a bit long-suffering in terms of
He's like, why can't you just get the sound right?
You need a checklist at the start. And then we go,
we're about content, not... They're like, but the content's good. He's like, not even interested in that. I'm interested in whether it sounds good.
Sound is a constant struggle with the podcast and the Zoom. But look, one of my most popular podcasts, the sound is a bit ropey, but it zoomed up the charts. It was like one of my breakout episodes. Like I've been doing this for years, but it really was. And I was like, I know nothing then about audience. I don't understand anything. I'll just keep doing what I think is best and turn it out. So
people are forgiving for, if you are producing content that's engaging, then I think there is a level of forgiveness. Feedback been like, what's up with the sound? And I was like, righto.
And another friend is, I can come and help you with the sound. I'm like, we'll get there.
So you've got a background in a friendship. You obviously trust and know each other really well. You have a similar sense of humour, and you're also both passionate about the subject matter. And you've obviously researched it and come with lived experience. Which is so important to be listening to that as well. There's great podcasts with experts, but We don't often hear the voice from people with lived experience.
Let's take a quick break.
Don't miss a single episode, so subscribe to Aligned and Thriving now to unlock a world of inspiration and practical strategies. And if you have subscribed, why not check out our IG account or join our community to navigate your own way to a happier and healthier working life.
And also, they're also trying to, a thing that we don't do is offer solutions.
No, there's no.
Yeah, we're not trying to help you. Like, we just like as you are.
Yep.
Yeah. We understand it's an ongoing battle.
Yeah.
So and get better. Like,
Come and get in a space with us and have a laugh, and maybe you find something that you can relate to into the serious side of what we experience, but have a laugh about it as well and just turn up as you are.
Yeah. I remember I listened to your episodes, I listened to quite a few of your episodes, but the one about grief. Which, yeah. And you were talking about after you'd lost your partner and explaining how you had to move out of your house or your apartment.
And the rental, and I just couldn't afford it.
Yeah. And so that's part of it. And then people coming in and checking the house and asking why you're moving, and you said, "Oh, my partner died." And the reaction was a bit like,
I'm still in shock then, to be fair, but that is honestly why I'm moving out. So
yeah. And I really related to that because I remember after my mother died, and people would say, you catch up with people, go, what have you been going on with? Oh, well, my mother died. And then I would tell them the story of her death. Like, it's quite sort of an extraordinary testimony to her strength of will, in that she was told she was dying and she basically just died. Hanging around for all this palliative care nonsense.
Oh, yeah.
An hour later, she's dead. Oh, it was great. But I remember I just kept telling people the story, and then occasionally I'd go, oh, by the way, are you okay with me talking about death to people? And most of them are friends, so they were very nice. So it's really important that we talk about this because most people don't. And we have a great conversation. But I do remember how when you are in that sort of state of shock after somebody passes on, how weirdly open and honest and just...
so raw.
It was just all out there. Yeah. So I found it incredibly relatable, and as many other episodes do. And you're right, there's no solution. It's just that's a shared experience, and oh God, it's just so refreshing to be able to hear them in an Australian accent.
Yeah, and then selling you something at the end. You're like, oh, okay.
So there's a passion here. Do you ever think that sometimes a risk that it is something you feel so connected to that you might lose objectivity about what you're doing? Is there a risk that you might lose yourself in the passion and not be able to see it objectively anymore? That you're dealing with something so close to your heart and so important to you that you might get overwhelmed by the emotion of doing the work in a way that might not be as helpful for the project as you want it to be?
I think one thing that I felt was a risk was the vulnerability of it and the stuff that we shared. Initially, I was quite confronted by that. At times, having a vulnerability hangover and going, oh my God, my work colleagues are going to know this about me. Just putting it all out there in a way that I never have before was quite terrifying. So I think that's probably more the risk that I felt about it, was like the vulnerability and just putting it all out there and how raw it was and how the stigma around it, and I guess a bit of shame around it, and knowing that it's on the internet now and future employers can look at that. And I think that's my probably biggest risk concern. What about you? I mean,
the risk for me was around having to show up. Probably fear is a big one for me. Is that if I start this, I'm going to have to finish it. Yeah, besides the risk factor, that fear factor, I think because there's two of us, a lot of that is actually mitigated because we can pull each other up. Sometimes Dora will be like, no, I wanted to do this. And I'll be like, she'll tell 5 stories at the start of the episode. And I'm like, mate, you've got 3. That's it, max. Just make your decision.
Because you want to get to the topic. And I'm like, it's all about the banter, like the comedy. I get caught up in that.
We do.
Yeah.
Although I know what you mean by, this is an interesting one because I'm transitioning currently out of a freelance role that gave me lots of flexibility into the construction industry. And obviously at the moment I'm just working with my brother, getting my skills up, and we're doing projects with families. So there's a lot of flexibility. So I'm only working 4 days a week, which is probably not a reality moving forward, but it didn't even occur to me to not be available on Friday. Like,
And you pulled up for that a little bit, didn't you?
yeah. And then, my brother was like, oh, how's your like half-assing it and not coming to work on a Friday? And I was like, but I have to put up. So I see what you mean. And I had to actually reflect on that and be like, okay, actually, is it reasonable if I'm trying to do this goal? Is it reasonable for that life-work balance to look like that? For how long can I get away with this kind of thing? Obviously, if I was working if I was hired by a builder or something like that, it would look different. But at this time in my life, as I'm transitioning and building skills in that area, my priority is actually almost outside work. Yeah. And people telling me that's absurd seems absurd to me. I don't know. Because it's not a paid gig.
But there's an incredible purpose behind what you're doing, even if it's not a paid gig, which is about influencing the environment in which we're living. To quote a good friend of mine, who's quoting somebody, I'll have to go and check the reference. But in the very first episode where I did an interview for Aligned and Thriving, I was talking to my good friend Marlo Newton, and she said one of the guiding principles in her life is, if not you, who? And if not now, when? And I was thinking, if it's not you guys doing this, who will do it?
Yeah. Yeah. Like, I guess someone's got to do it, don't they? Yeah. Allow themselves to do it.
Because it's hard. I think I was probably went into it thinking, I'm going to be, that might have been a bit of a lady.
Oh, yeah.
And then it has probably been learning curve, emotionally hard at times. It's been more rewarding, but probably harder than I thought it would be. Yeah, there was and all the tech stuff behind it. There's just so much to it. Because I'm an avid podcast listener, they appear in your ears of these perfectly formed conversations, that episodes. And it's so behind it now to realize the amount of work. Yeah, wow.
Yeah. That's funny because we were talking with you, Judith, and I think some of your listeners will probably know this, like that 60% comfort zone where it's like fun and good and you're enjoying it and satisfying. And then the other 20% is like challenging. And then what was the other 20%? Yeah, you just flat out hate it.
Oh, it's stuff you could be good at it, but you no longer want to do it. Or it's stuff you're no good at, but you never really want to be good at it. Yeah. So it's stuff you don't want to be doing.
Yeah, this podcast is definitely 60%.
Yeah.
Like, even higher than that, I think. Yeah. The check's definitely in that 20%. Things that I want to do and never want to learn. Yeah. With the content's pushing up to the 80%.
Absolutely.
So it's not, it's fun.
Yeah. Oh, that's important. So it is ticking that box of fun, humour, all those other values as well, which is obviously really important to you. I think the other thing that's really great about the podcast and having these conversations is that so much of lived experience of mental health is keynote speakers and stuff like that. They always have to tell the trauma.
Yeah.
It's trauma sharing. Like you've got my story involved, that time I hit rock bottom and and it's one that's quite damaging for the person telling. And it can also be quite damaging for the people listening. Remember thinking, how can we have these conversations without people having to go through trauma in sharing experiences? And because often that's a barrier to sharing lived experience, is that people want your story. People want your bad experience of mental health, like the days where it was really hard, or you didn't get support, or you were struggling without care, or you wanted to hurt yourself, or all these things. And it's, oh, mate, you don't get that. I'm not telling you those experiences. No.
I feel like it's also because it's such a long journey as well that people are like, I think it's the day-to-dayness that we like about it, because obviously I've had big periods of depression, but mainly it's the day-to-dayness of how that feels, the ups and downs of that, because that grief experience, obviously that was a depressive episode, but then like lots of people are experiencing grief, and that's probably a standard response to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's actually when nothing is going on and you're still feeling depressed, that's the story.
All the story is also you have depression and you're managing it.
Yes.
Oh, that's huge for me with the bipolar. Because I often have people going, oh, I wouldn't have known you had bipolar, and I just wouldn't have known. I'm like, what do you think this looks like? And people just say, but you've got a job and you've got kids and normal. And
Fair.
Huge, I think, misconception about what it looks like what it can look like to live and manage bipolar or any serious complex mental health condition, as they call it. Yeah, so it's nice to smash down that.
Yeah. You have to start with because it's just
Yeah.
right. We've had some tense conversation. I'm happy to be the problem and be corrected.
Yeah. Because I remember back in the day when I was working film policy, and at the time I remember being contacted by someone who was running a campaign about representations of mental health on film. Because we could all, my life, actually, depression, it's actually quite boring. You know?
Just watch me be in bed for a bloody week.
It's not that interesting. That's the problem. Your life becomes really dull and closed and shut down a bit. So it's not standing in the garden shed with a gun, or it's not contemplating ending your life. A lot of it's not that. It's just not feeling like it's worth it. It's normalizing of the experience of mental health. And I guess it also helps people to perhaps look at their own lives and go, oh shit, is that what's going on for me?
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I just accepted that bad days were part of my existence.
That's what it looks like. Yeah.
Until somebody went, do you think you could be depressed? And it's like, maybe I am. And not rejecting it outright, not going, oh no, I don't get depressed. That's not something that happens to people like me.
I was like, no, what's going on? But they often say that things are going on because you're depressed.
Yeah.
Like
Yes.
hard time at work, having a hard time with relationships and stuff. It's actually, and people will be like, oh, that's caused depression. You're like, no, actually, it's probably the depression. That's the depression causing that.
Exactly. Yeah.
Resilience and.
Yeah. And I think what's really important is that sometimes it's just that you've got a digestive issue. It's going to cause you to feel sick, not really sick. Yeah. So it's the same thing. It's, if you're feeling irritable, or you're feeling extra sensitive about something. What else supports you in doing this work? So it's obviously something you're passionate, you care about, the values of humour we've talked about, the values of friendship. What other values do you think are supporting you to keep doing this amongst your really busy and complex lives?
If I didn't do anything creative, I would feel like a useless member of society.
Yeah, right.
All throughout my working life, I've always had a creative side project. Initially, it was like music, doing family music classes in the community. And then it was like running a choir in primary school. Then it was running another family music class at the kids' school. And then now it's this. I've always had kind of something on the side.
Yeah.
I'm saying
100%. I'm always writing something. I'm always, I know I've done work in the writing space as well. But always had something on the go. Like when people say they're bored, I just find that a bizarre concept because there's just so many things. There's not enough hours in the day as far as I'm concerned to cram in something, which is also probably putting pressure on myself and whatnot. Like that goes hand in hand. But definitely. Yeah, I feel like I literally just recently finished a project with a woman who I just love. We're collaborating on a TV series and we've just finished up what we were doing. And then she got an email with me tentatively and I was like, oh, and proposed another project. And I was like, yeah, great, jump on, when can we start? Because I always like to have creative things going on. And it's how I connect with people as well.
Yeah.
And how I'm part of a community because being single with no kids, you start to fill the void a little bit.
Yeah.
And how am I spending my time? Who do I want to spend it with? And other people that are passionate about in some writing groups and stuff. So,
Yeah, great. Yeah. Okay, so we talked about passion, we talked about what supports you, it talks about the values. If you had a chance to, would you do this again? If you felt you've done enough with Going Loco, do you think you'd want to do another podcast, or is it too early to tell at this point?
I'm working on a fiction podcast because I listen to a lot of fiction podcasts. It's like a revelation. It's like a radio play. I love fiction so much. I love having my world explained back to me in beautiful prose. I see fiction. So I listen to a lot of fiction. So I'm working on a fiction, 6-part of fiction, which incorporates music, actually.
Amazing. Yeah. I see maybe us heading down the comedy route and doing some more projects in that space. I'm interested in trying out a bit more stand-up comedy and comedy performance. I think there's some stuff for us to do in that space. That's kind of where I maybe see, us heading, as well as the podcast.
Hiding behind Going Loco rather than doing straight comedy.
Yeah.
Because that's risky. Straight comedy.
Yeah.
You get that immediate feedback of whether the room laughs or not.
But it's a great way of starting, isn't it? Of going, okay, we'll start here, which you've got to start somewhere, and then developing the skill as you keep doing it. But you've got to do it to develop the skill. There's no other way to actually learn how to do this.
It's the learning process, I think, where
It's so annoying.
Yeah, you have to do it, and you're right. It's not, you're developing that skill, and that is confronting. But to get there, you've got to do it.
Yeah. And you expect to, I think this is a big thing, expecting that I know it already, which is like absurd. Why would I know this already? Start a new job as well.
Yeah.
You're often like, I'm not getting it. And you're not supposed to go. It's a new role. Yeah. Even though it might be the skill set that you've used in other roles, it's going to look different. It's going to feel different. It's going to behave differently. So you just have to do the work to learn it.
Yeah.
And I couldn't agree more. Like learning how to craft, maybe I'm not doing it too well, but an idea of how do you craft an interview? How do you actually use that? Yeah. So what's the kind of the next thing you guys are up to? What's happening with Going Loco over the next few months?
It's going to be the videos more.
Yeah, we're wanting to get into content creation.
Yeah, there's a bit of the TikTok space.
Yeah, I've got a document full of ideas. So when I'm manic, the ideas, I'm just catching them. And then when you're feeling better, you're like, okay, what can we work with? And I think we've got a few kind of funny videos that we want to get out.
Yeah. But I guess with the time thing, you're spending so much time chatting and then doing the recording and stuff. Yeah. But we've both been like, we need to start looking at, some more comedy-based videos.
Yeah.
Which is another steep learning curve.
Yeah. Oh, God, yeah. Oh,
I had a little bit of a go when I had my third last baby. Rome and I had a bit of a midlife crisis and created an Instagram account called The Crazy Lazy Lady and had a bit of a go into making fun video, kind of where the idea comes in it.
And I'm just riding George's coattail and making her do all the work.
I'm just trying to escape my family. What can I do to clear out?
I've got to do it, sorry.
Talking about that thing of like, where are your priorities? I'm sure Stu sometimes like, why you got to go and do that? Okay. I think shouldering the load with the kids, it is that. By getting the time away at this time in my life is a real challenge because the other partner is shouldering the burden and finding the balance so you can both get some me time. And for me, it's this creative stuff and be a real challenging one to negotiate.
And he's very supportive.
He's very supportive. He's doing the editing and stuff for us, getting that time. That'd be my one thing is, if I could just get more time. But I think it's just a season of life. I have a struggle accepting that's the limitations that I have at the moment. But I'm sure always that the kids will grow up and get more time.
It is a season of life. It seems all-consuming. And you taking time out to do this, even if this is, you have your one creative project to sustain you through this. And then as you get more time to be able to, you haven't lost touch with it. My sister is a mad keen athlete. Working out is her happy space. She said when she had her babies, her trainer said to her, look, for the next 4 or 5 years, you're just going to keep a connection to the thing that you're passionate about. You're not going to be breaking records. You're not going to be taking on new things. You're not going to do that. You're just going to keep the connection to it. And I think that's the great thing. If you can keep a connection, you're all going through transitioning your work. If you can at least keep a connection to your creativity through a working group, whatever, you're going to be able to then build from that as you go, as you get the more time, as you get the more freedom.
And you don't have to start from zero.
Yeah. No. And sometimes people think it's all or nothing, and it's not. It never is. If you can do one thing, if you've got a passion in life and you go, I'd love to be able to dedicate myself to go save the rainforest in Amazon. That's my passion in life. Okay, that might not be possible right now. What can you do that's aligned with that passion, that keeps you a connection? Maybe you can just go to do a volunteer project once or twice a year. It's something that you can keep supporting, something you can listen, you can learn, whatever it is, just keep a connection to it because you never know what's going to happen next. And when you're going to have an opportunity to go, actually, your construction business might boom and you're going to have all the time in the world.
Yeah.
And hope it does, because the construction industry needs booming company.
Yeah.
I've got a bathroom I need fixed.
Oh, wow.
So I think that's great. What you're demonstrating is that ability to do something. And it's great. It's actually like a huge thing. Don't underestimate it as well. But it's like you keep a connection to your creativity. Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. There's something in there. Yeah, I would be okay. I really like that. I did go through a midway every week and I'm like, oh, I wanted to get that done and that done. And I didn't do that and I didn't do that. I'm only doing this. But it's great to reframe it like that and go, actually, no, we're creating a podcast. We're putting it out. Yes, there was 1,000 other things that I wanted to do as well, but it's not realistic to fit it in. But we are doing this. We're getting it done. We're getting it out there fortnightly.
Yeah.
We are achieving that. Yeah.
And that is great. You are achieving that. And then there'll be something to build from it or something to transition into. Because that's the nature of creativity as well, isn't it? It's always evolving. So, I'm saying this to myself too. Yeah. It's been great to have goals. It's great to have ambitious goals, but you also want to be able to achieve them too. So,
I'm murdered for just being like, oh, maybe I'll write a novel in a week or just silly stuff. Or just, even if it's 6 months, that's also unrealistic for a novel to go.
Yeah.
So, and then setting those goals, failing at them, able to just be like, okay, like you were saying, we were talking off the mics about, small, modest actions. And then you have that, and you get that sense of achievement. That's changed my way a bit. Changed my thinking.
Because you don't always have to go. My mission in life is to teach people. You don't, like everyone says, you've got to break out of your comfort zone to achieve things. Out of your comfort zone is just painful. There's a reason why it's called the comfort zone. Like that's where you get stressed. And a bit of stress is important, but too much is debilitating. And that's why you have mental health injuries. And so finding things that take you up to what my great mentor said, that Lorna, she would say it was the learning edge. What's your next learning edge? And she taught me how to be a coach. And what's your next learning edge in coaching? And I go, not one. You've just done all this work, Lorna. And she's going, come on, what are you going to challenge yourself with next? And I'd be like, I'm going to practice.
Judith, that's interesting because, when we were talking off the mics before about that learning edge, you saying, because the comfort zone sounds so nice, such a nice space to be. And I'm like, yes, good, I can do that. I feel confident here. And then you said challenge around the edges. And that had a real visual for me being like, nice and cozy here, but I'm like, can go pushing again a little bit. Yeah, it's like putting your toe in the water. The rest of you use water knows that's fine, because you're right about if you challenge yourself, pushing yourself too far, I'm just going to fall in the water and drown.
Yeah, or it's often also putting up with a horrible situation because you think it's going to do good for you. So, thank you so much for being with us on Aligned and Thriving. It's wonderful to see people being aligned and thriving and working on their passion. And I would love to have you come back one day and we can perhaps delve into the origin stories, because we love origin stories. And I wish you all the best for the future. So thank you. And so please check out Going Loco. We'll have all the details and all the spots you can listen to it in our show notes. You're on Spotify, Apple, everything that you can possibly do. So check it out. And I tell you, you'll enjoy it. And we'll look forward to seeing you next time, and also for seeing you on Going Loco. Thanks so much, Georgia and Amanda.
Cheers.
Bye for now.
Don't miss a single episode, so subscribe to Aligned and Thriving now to unlock a world of inspiration and practical strategies. And if you have subscribed, why not check out our IG account or join our community to navigate your own way to a happier and healthier working life.